Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here. My name is Kitty McGowan. I'm the president of the US Superyacht Association, and we're so delighted to have so many of you here with us for our first major event of the new year. And you guys are certainly in for a great treat. We have a lot of content to share. So I'm going to be very brief with our opening comments. We have people from all over the country and some from different countries as well. The US Superyacht Association, because there's a couple of you guys that are not members yet, but I know we'll have you after this event. As I said, my name is Kitty McGowan. I'm the president of the US Superyacht Association, and we're celebrating our 15-year anniversary as being the voice of the superyacht industry. And as part of our mission is we're here to help educate, advocate, and market our industry in the United States and across the world. And so I'd like to introduce you. We're going to go get right to the program, and at the end, we'll have hopefully some time for Q&A, and I can give you an update on some of the new things that are happening in USSA land, because we've got lots of activities, and I might just put them in the chat line as we go along so that you guys can mark your calendars for upcoming events and things as they happen. So Julie Perry is the author of the book, The Insider's Guide to Becoming a Yacht Stewardess. Now you may wonder, so like yacht stewardess and digital media, how does that work? Well, she has run workonayacht.com, a digital information website that's focused on attracting and providing guidance to entry-level superyacht crew. But not only that, she has been a member of the USSA for 6 years, has been on our board of directors for the last 2 years as head of co-chair of the marketing committee, and has served as a digital marketing consultant for both the USSA and is running our social media. You guys, I know so many of you engage with us on social media, and our numbers are going through the roof. So much so there's a few of you on here that we get calls for you guys all the time because they look you up on Google and they come up and they get US Superyacht Association. So she is your girl for making things happen. She's presented at the Superyacht Summit for many years, the Northwest Marine Trade Association, Marine Marketers of America, the International Superyacht Society, and Crisscross Boats. In addition to her work with us here at the USSA, she was a marketing consultant for superyacht industry businesses such as Reardon Yacht Consulting, the International Superyacht Society, Access Marine, and others. We've come up with some new programs like Reef in America on how we can continue to grow the US market through the digital platform. And as with no further ado, I give you Julie Perry, marketing guru and digital expert, that you guys are in for a treat. So hang on to your hats because she talks fast. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box and we'll come back right to you. Julie, take it away.
Thank you, Kitty. That was great. Several things on that. I'm glad you mentioned I talk fast because I was going to preface by apologizing in advance. This is going to go very quick. This is one of my favorite subjects, though, content marketing and SEO. I've been doing SEO since all the way back in 2005. So I've been through a lot of changes. And back in the day, I don't really like to brag about it, but I would say that I was one of those black hat SEOs simply because back then, that's really the only way to do SEO. So I don't know if many of you are familiar with the term black hat SEO, but essentially it's the wrong way to do search engine optimization. So today we're talking about the holy grail of Google, which is the right way to handle your content and SEO strategy so that you can rise to the top of the superyacht searches. So let me share my screen and we will, sorry, I thought it was already sharing. There we go. And hopefully everyone can see that title slide. So hold on to your hats. And by the way, this presentation is brought to you by Wide Effect Talent Solutions, as well as Burger Boat Company. And we'd like to thank them. They also sponsored an event for us last year, and this was part of the sponsorship. And it's taken us all year to get it in action, but we're glad that we're all finally here today to present this information. So hopefully it won't be the last of our educational series. And we'd like to thank Burger and Wide Effect for helping us to present these types of educational workshops for our members and possibly potential members. So without further ado, there we go. An overview for today. We are going to be covering the fundamentals, technical SEO, content research strategies, AKA keyword research. People talk about that a lot. We'll get into some tools for that and how to go about it and think about it the best way. Then we'll talk about on-site content optimization as well as off-site linking strategies. I'll also be telling you in the first part what that means and what those things are, why they're important. Then we're going to talk about paid content amplification, and not to worry, we will be talking about tools that you can use for these things along the way. So if you'll notice, this is a photo of Vince Lombardi. For those of you who don't know who Vince Lombardi is, he was a former NFL coach. I believe it was the Green Bay Packers, 1959 to 1967. They won 2 Super Bowls, legendary coach. I think he may have also worked for the Redskins for a year, but he's very famous for a speech that he once gave where he had the whole team gather around and he said, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And what he was doing was introducing them to a speech about the fundamentals, where I guess they'd been suffering a bad season. He said, we got to get back to the basics, got to get back to the fundamentals. And we're going to start with this. It's a football. So I want to make sure that we do that today. That is why we're going to kind of dig into some definitions here and just talk about how search engines work. It is, in my opinion, the best foundation for you to go over these basics and make sure that you not only understand what I'm referring to when I use certain phrases such as SERPs or bots or crawling or indexing, but then a lot of these, what is search engine optimization? And we're talking about the holy grail of Google. We're even going to talk about the fundamentals of, well, what is Google's mission? So these are items you can look forward to for probably the next 15 minutes, and I'll do my best to keep it really interesting. But I think understanding this really is the key to formulating a successful SEO strategy. So we start out, this is a search engine. And, people always say, why is it you focus so much on Google? It's not the only search engine. Well, it does own about 90% or 86%. It says here, it at certain points has been as much as 90% of search engine traffic. So it's a pretty lopsided landscape out there when it comes to search. Now, Bing does have 7.2% of the worldwide search volume, a lot more in the United States. And for those of you who know people, we do the Mac versus PC thing. When someone purchases a PC, it usually comes with Microsoft products already installed on it. That includes Microsoft Edge as a browser and Bing as a search engine. So you'll often find that older audiences tend to be, let's say boomers and up, let's say, that they often are just going to get that PC and accept the defaults. And so Bing is typically used by older audiences. That's something I like to keep reminding people. Don't forget about Bing, but we optimize for Google. Typically, if you optimize for Google, you've taken care of the rest. Another thing to consider here, 97% of all online experiences start with a search engine. So whether it's Google, Bing, or Yahoo, or any of these others that you see listed here, this is why we optimize our websites so that we can come up in the search engines when people are searching for things. Just as a quick note, since they're here on the screen, Yahoo is worldwide only 2.77%, but it is really big in Japan and Mexico. So if for some reason you have audiences that you're targeting in those countries, that's something to keep in mind. Baidu, I believe is how they pronounce it, is only 0.58% worldwide traffic, but 86% in China. Russia, the Yandex search engine is about 59% of their traffic. And then these bottom three, not as frequently talked about, but starting to become a lot more popular. I think they pronounce it eCommerce. And this is a search engine out of Berlin that actually plants trees. Their mission is about reforestation. So based on certain search volume and people paying for ads on their search engines, they will actually plant trees. So something to keep in mind. You can feel good about yourself while you're out there searching. DuckDuckGo has become well known because they're really into protecting privacy of searchers. So you'll notice that you'll find a lot more search traffic, if you look at your Google Analytics coming in from DuckDuckGo, it's becoming a lot more popular. Ask is kind of an oldie. I thought it was out of business, but apparently not. It's still out there, but those are search engines. So next we talk about this. This is a search query and a SERP, which is a search engine result page. A lot of times people will just say, well, how do you rank in the SERPs? Now you know, SERPs are search engine result pages. The search query is the keywords or keyword phrases that a user is going to enter, that when they then hit enter, it's going to yield the results on your SERP. So it's thing to keep in mind there is the difference between a search query and keywords. So we optimize for keywords so that when the search query comes in, we can be the best choice. Anytime you type in a keyword, says, this is the CEO of Alphabet, which is Google's parent company, Sundar Pichai. Anytime you type in a keyword, as Google, we have gone and stored copies of billions of pages in our index. We take the keyword and match it against their pages and rank them based on 200 plus signals. It's actually quite a few more, I believe. Things like relevance, popularity, and how people are using it. So with that in mind, we're going to break that down into what search engines really are. And that is, they're a card catalog, essentially. For those of you that can remember the days of going to the local library, where you would use a card catalog to search through and find the book that you wanted and where it was located, everything was in alphabetical order. So when the internet came around and when Google launched specifically back in 1997, search engines looked at all of the information that was going to be online and they said, what is the best way for us to categorize this so that we can help people find the best answer, because alphabetizing ain't gonna work. So really then what they decided was, we're going to organize this information using math. So essentially search engines are algorithms, which is just math. And there are signals that your website gives off that then go into this equation that Google has created. It is a very under lock and key, this algorithm. Everybody tries to guess what are these factors or signals. And that's why the range there, 200 to 1,000 different on-site, that means on your website, versus off-site, that means things that are on other sites linking to your site. Those signals are being taken into consideration in these mathematical equations to help the search engine determine the best answer to the search query that has been entered into the engine. So like I said, we're really breaking this down. But this is important because in these algorithms, the math that is being used is taking into consideration these big three pillars that people often discuss with regard to search engine optimization. And those are relevancy, trust, and value. Or authority is another way that people often refer to it. But essentially, these are all different factors that are being considered, and we'll break these down a little bit more when we talk about the algorithm factors. But the main goal is what's important here, and that is that you need to get found by them. You need to be the best organic answer, meaning there's no money behind your result that's showing up in the search engines. As you know, from personal experience, I'm sure, you go to search a query in Google, Bing, Yahoo, and then the top results are usually ads, and they're denoted as such. There's usually a little graphic that says ad, ad, ad. Well, anymore on Google, that up to 4 of the top results are going to be paid. So the holy grail of Google is to come up organic and be the first organic result where you're not having to spend money to be the best answer. So the next step then is to start thinking about how these search engines are working in the background, because this really becomes important as you try to think through what keywords you want to optimize and how you want to optimize your content for said keyword. So I often say you need to think like a bot, and that is a Google bot. So what they talk about with how search engines work is, you know, when you create a website or a page on your website or a new blog post, really the only way for Google to know what content is out there, to know what books are on the shelves of the library, is to continually scan the shelves. And to do that, it uses what's called Google bots. Now, they crawl all the different pages on the web and look for new pages. Every time they spot a new page that hasn't been here before, well, then they put it into their index. They basically stick it into the catalog. But how they put it in and how they classify it is based on the signals that we are providing. And that is how it knows when somebody runs that search query, what result to serve up as the results, and not only to serve up, but how to rank them in order of which is the best answer to the query. So thinking like a Google bot, you often have to think through the lens of Google's mission. And that is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and usable. So let's think about this. They are probably the most major repository for human knowledge that there is. Conversations going on all the time. And Google is all the social networks. Just think about it. How many pages are out there each day that Google is discovering? They say that like 15% of searches are yielding new content that has never been served up before. So content is being created all the time. So when you consider that process, there are ways that you can submit a site map, which is often you may have heard of a web developer talking about your site map. A site map is a map that can be submitted. It's a text document submitted for the robots to read. But from there, any new page you put out there needs to wait until the bots, or in a minute, you'll see I also call them spiders, crawl the site, in which case then they know that they need to be added to the index. The things to keep in mind here, and it is worth repeating in a big way, Google's mission, which is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. So they want to deliver the most relevant and reliable information. They want to maximize access to that information, and they need it to be presented in a useful way. If you can't do those things on your website with the content you're creating, then Google is most likely not going to select you as an answer. And if they do, you're certainly not going to rank on page 1. That brings us to the definition official of search engine optimization. This is coming straight from Wikipedia. This is the process of improving the visibility of a website or web page in the search engines in their natural or unpaid, organic or algorithmic search results. And the idea is that the earlier or higher your website can rank, the more visitors you receive. And of course, we see here that this can be very true. This is a Google CTR per ranking. When you hear CTR, that means click-through rate. The click-through rate of results that rank number 1, they're receiving 28.5% of the traffic. And then the step down after that, result number 2 gets only about 15.7% of the traffic. Beyond that, result 3, 11%. And as you can see, the abysmal 2.5% if you're ranking at the very bottom of page 1. So you can almost forget about page 2, 3, 4, 5. People never make it that far. The holy grail of Google is to be an organic result as high up as you can be on page 1. That crosses off everything that I talked about that we would cover in the fundamentals. So now we're going to talk about those algorithm factors to wrap this area up before we go into technical SEO. So the algorithmic factors, we talked about authority. Those signals that are, once the bots or spiders have crawled your site and indexed it, how they classify it is they're looking for, is your site authoritative? In other words, does it have high value other websites that are pointing to it, telling us that it's important? In fact, back in the day, that was how Google would originally find content, because somebody is linking to it. So they follow links. It's a spider. And the web, it's crawling, crawling, crawling. Everything has to be connected to something else. So short of submitting a site map to say, hey, Google, here's my content, they are crawling and coming to you. And if you've got CNN or Wikipedia or an educational or government institution, or let's think of another good example, I don't know, Huffington Post, linking to you, that tells Google, hey, this is probably an authoritative site that we need to pay attention to, because they've got another authoritative site linking to them. So authority matters. And that means quality backlinks, which is the links that are coming into your website. Next is relevance. Relevance. Does your website or page on the website have the particular keywords in the search query on that page? Is it just there once? So if you're optimizing for yacht crew training, is it there once? Is it there twice? Is it in the header? Is it there? Is the anchor text, which is the text I'll show you here in a minute, that another site is using to link to you, does it contain yacht crew training in the search? Because if it does, then that shows Google, oh, this is relevant to this term. So let's break down anchor text so you can see what I mean. These are two examples. Now this is site A. We don't know what that site is, but let's say it's workonayacht.com. And let's say I'm linking to site B, which is US Superyacht Association. The anchor text is the blue underlined text that hyperlinks site A to site B. So if I'm using grow your superyacht business, I am doing US Superyacht Association a favor by telling people telling Google in my text what the US Superyacht Association is good for, and that is helping our members grow their superyacht businesses. Another way that I could say it though is I could use call to action language, join the US Superyacht Association. Either way, I'm giving contextual clues to Google about what that page that I'm pointing to on USSA's website is about. So keep this in mind. It's going to be important for the rest of the presentation, whether we're talking about on-site links that link one page on your site to the next, or if it's talking about links coming from external websites. And when we talk about how to get good quality backlinks, you're going to find out how all of you on this call can become very important to one another in terms of doing some content exchanges and linking back and forth to one another. But we'll never get there if I don't hurry up. Trustworthiness. What's the reputation of the site linking to you? That's why a lot of times the government and the educational, .orgs, .edus, .govs, having those types of, and .orgs aren't necessarily, it's reputable as government and edu websites, or mainstream media sites. So the New York Times, your local, the Miami Herald, but not just media. We're also talking about websites that have been around for a long time, that are very trusted, that have tons of links coming into them because they are looked at as an authority. That usually makes them trustworthy, and Google takes that into account. They're also looking at those algorithmic factors on your website. So are people seeing your website coming up in the SERPs, clicking you as the answer, going there, finding out that you really aren't the best answer, and then hitting the back button? Because every time that happens, Google notices, and then it says, maybe that was the wrong answer. Google wants to give the right answer. It's in the business of giving the right answer. So it is going to be looking at anything it can, including, okay, they came over, they didn't hit the back button, but how long did they stay on the site? If they only went onto that site for 10 seconds, probably not a good piece of content. But if they stay on for 3 minutes, if they're on that website for a 20-minute session, that's a good thing. So it's all about building content on your site that pulls people in, but also engages them and keeps them there. And then in 2019, there have been so many algorithm updates over the years. I'm not even going to get into all of them, but there is an update that we refer to as the Google EAT update. That is expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So it's very much of what I just talked about with relevancy, authority, and trust. But something else that they're looking at now is the individual who is writing the content. So a tip right away, if you have a blog and you're writing content on that blog, make sure you have an author bio page where you talk more about the author, put a name to the content, no more of this nameless content that doesn't have a writer attached to it. Because now Google is actually able to note the name of the writer and then go out and see, does that person have much social clout out there on the web? So somebody like Diane Byrne at megayachtnews.com, she is an influencer. She is an authoritative, trustworthy expert on Mega Yacht News. So Google is taking content that comes from her site and looking at that as more valuable than coming from other sites. Now, we're going to get into technical SEO. And I'm not pausing for questions because I am not doing good on time, given how much content I have to come. But let me see. Okay. Technical SEO. This is your foundation and your infrastructure. And if you don't have this right, you're going to lose. Having a well-optimized site, from a technical perspective, makes it easier for Google to crawl your site. So again, it comes back to the crawl. It comes back to the crawling, indexing, serving, and ranking. Now, it's also going to help that your user to have a better experience and engagement on your website. So we're not just worried about technical SEO for the search engines, but I'm telling you right now, if you don't have your technical SEO in order, your site doesn't stand a chance. So unfortunately, this is not where people focus right away. Unfortunately, a lot of people pay to have websites built where a web designer is doing really fancy, cool things and adding lots of cool, flashy features, but they never stop to consider the technical side of things. And then that website just kind of lives out there with very few people finding it through search engines. So we go back to that Google bot concept, and we think again, this time like a spider. So it's the World Wide Web. The spider has to get from point A to point B. Make your site easy to crawl. Pay attention to your navigational architecture. Does it map out how your site's content flows, and does it in an easy to follow manner? So you want to make sure you got your main page, but then pay attention to the categories and the navigation at the top. For every main topic, it's like an outline you used to do in school before you write a paper. What's your main topic? What are your subtopics? And then what are the supporting points to that? You have your subcategories linked to from the categories. But then something else that Google wants to make sure that you do is to link those other pages in between one another too. Essentially, you don't want dead ends on your website. The spider cannot, the web cannot break or the spider falls off. So leave no dead ends, have no orphaned content. That is content that you publish a page on your website and nothing links to it. It doesn't link out, nothing links in. Use hyperlinks with keyword relevant anchor text, which I showed earlier, to link between your pages. So when someone go around your site tomorrow or today, this afternoon, every page that ends with nothing to do, with nowhere else to link or no call to action, even if it's just download this white paper or click here for more information or contact us, link to the contact us page. You need to start creating your website with an infrastructure that allows the spiders to crawl it easily. Also, make sure it's easy to read. Use simple sentence structure and break your content down, just like I just said, to break down your site architecture with navigation that is easy to follow. The same thing with the content. Consider the spider. It wants to know what your page is about. It's crawling, 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 and it's looking for keywords. It's looking for the use of keywords. It's looking for anchor text leading to other places. Forget about anchor text coming into your site. You link out to other sites as well, shows that you are spreading the wealth of information, and Google likes to see that. Back in the day, people would be like, well, don't link to too many sites. You give away your SEO juice. People often talk about the juice that flows between sites. And people say, don't link to too many sites. Not true. Certainly you don't want to post, it's just tons of links linking at, throwing page rank everywhere. But I would say that it is important to show Google that you are not just trying to hold your reader hostage, that you are about even citing other websites or other areas of information. Let's see here. Oh, did I forget one? The spider cannot read a picture, cannot read an image. A person can't read an image. And this is something when we talk about the Google's mission is to make content accessible and easy to use. They're also considering people here with special needs. So people that use the Braille machines to read websites, we want them to know, hey, there's pictures on this page and this is what they're about. And Google wants you to do that for them so that content is accessible to as many people as possible. To do that, you have to use image or text in what is known as the alt text on an image. So I'm not sure whether you, hopefully a lot of you have your websites built on WordPress. This is an example of WordPress, but you'll see here, the alt text here is telling the reader and the bot what is in this picture, which is using keywords. And so if you're optimizing well, then you're also thinking about the keywords that you should be using in the image as well, because Google is reading those and counts those too. So there's your action item. Get a technical audit run on your website. You can choose a tool and then get the results, send it to a webmaster to have them fix it. But I'm telling you, it will make an immediate impact. It's the first thing that you need to do. And there are a lot of different options out there. To talk a little bit about the free options that you can use. Google Search Console, if you use Google Analytics, tell your webmaster, whoever sets up your analytics, hey, we want Google Search Console attached to our analytics. That's going to let you look and see what keywords people are using to find your website. It's also going to show you how you rank. And then it's going to tell you when people come into your site, what keywords they may have used to get there. There is something called the Chrome Lighthouse plugin. It's free. You download it, you put it on your browser, and then you run a report, and it will show you not only the errors you have, but it will give you detailed advice on how to fix them. It's free. So even if you only use this one time, go install it, just search Chrome browser extension. This is made by Google. It is open source, but it's very useful, and it's what they want you to use it because they want to create a better experience for all users online. And it starts with getting your technical SEO game in shape. Screaming Frog, there is a free version of this. It is a bot, but you have to download it, and then it operates like a search engine spider, and it will crawl your website and tell you all your broken links, anything that needs to be fixed. They do have a free version, which does have some good stuff on it. But if you want to buy an annual license, then it's about $180. Uber Suggest is one of my favorites. I also use it for keyword research, but mainly because it's only $29. When I'm working for a big company and they've got a huge budget, I might go with some of the more expensive tools, and that's for both technical SEO and for keyword research. So SEMrush, Moz, many of you that know anything about SEO or have ever looked into it may have come across these different tools. They're usually more like $99, $119 a month. That's a lot to spend if you're a small business. So Uber Suggest, I have found, is a really good option. Also, they have a 7-day free trial, so you might try that. I mentioned Ahrefs. They have a free version that's limited. SEMrush's is very limited, or SEMrush, very limited. And then HubSpot has a tool called the Website Grader, which is really quick and easy. You can just do a Google search for HubSpot Website Grader, throw your domain in there, run a quick report. And just with any of these, whether you do free or paid, don't freak out, because there are often a lot of errors, and not all errors are super difficult to fix, but they need to be fixed, and it will have an immediate impact on your site. So one thing is an example here. This is the Chrome Lighthouse. This is an example. I just threw this in there last night. Now, I know Kitty mentioned I run workonayacht.com, the official website for my book, but the thing is I haven't really done much with it since I think probably 2015. Until last night. I actually went in and optimized a post last night because I got so into preparing for this that I learned all these things that are kind of messing me up with them. I just sell a $29 or $25 book. Most people buy it on Amazon. So as much as I want to get more and more information out there, it just in the past has not really paid off. I may do something with the site coming up here soon, who knows? But I ran this report last night, and sure enough, I've got some problems, and I guarantee you I know what they are. I hadn't really looked since 2015. So yeah, if I wanted to go in there and better optimize my site, I now have instructions from Chrome Google Lighthouse to do that. And I'll show you, if we have time here at the end, an example of that report. You'll see how extensive it is. You can literally take that report, send it to your webmaster and say, hey, FYI, my site is not scoring well at all, and I need you to fix it. And what are some of those common errors that you'll most likely have to fix? One, not being optimized for mobile first. Google has been saying since, like, I don't know, I think they started talking about it in 2011, look out, we're going to move to a mobile first strategy. And if your content can't be read well on a mobile device, we're not ranking you at all. Even your desktop content is going to suffer. We're going to look at mobile first. Then people didn't believe and didn't do anything. 2014 comes around, they made the switch. They gave people a lot of leeway for a few years, but nowadays, forget about it. If you are not optimized for mobile, if you don't have a mobilely responsive theme, so if you're using, let's say, WordPress, a lot of times people talk about the theme that you use. If those pages aren't able to, move around for the mobile user, then your site's just not going to come up. You can test this though. Go to just Google mobile friendly test. This is the URL. If you can see that up there, search.google.com/test, blah, blah, blah. Just do the search and pick the answer. But you will enter your URL and it will tell you right away. Now, if you are not optimized, if it comes up that you get dinged, then you should freak out. But I would say, there might be some just moving your website over to a new theme, moving it over to WordPress, but you're going to have a lot of work to do. But you need to do that or you're just not going to come up in search. And here's one of the reasons why. 52% of traffic, now this is as recent only as Q2 2020. I didn't actually look, but I figured this tells us enough. I'm sure we can only imagine it's gotten more prevalent that mobile is now 52% of website traffic. So Google wants to make sure that because people are buying, they're not just researching, they're not just looking on their phones for information, they're actually buying things. You want to make sure that anyone on their phone can read the information on your website or you're not showing up in the search results. Now, another common error is site speed. This often happens, like mine. I know, for example, that my website, one of the reasons that it's not performing well is it's too slow. You can fix that usually by just upping your hosting account to allow for faster speed time. But another way to do it is to go through and look at the size of the images on your website. Very often people are uploading PNG files, image files, JPEGs, PNGs. JPEGs are small, PNGs are massive. So if all the images on your website are 5,000 by 5,000 pixels, good luck. They don't have to be in order to be seen well. So you want to look at things like site speed. Pay attention to those images is one way to make it better. Poor metadata, and that is lack of like page titles, blog post titles, meta descriptions being too long. So there's proper optimal character numbers that should be used in page titles and meta descriptions. For those of you on WordPress, if you are using the Yoast plugin, that will actually grade you as you are writing your blog posts. And right before you go to post it, it'll tell you if your titles are too long. I believe it's 70 characters in a title for desktop, 40 for mobile, but optimized for mobile, right? Running a technical audit is also going to tell you how many broken links you have. Screaming Frog is great for this. It'll crawl your site really quick and it'll say, hey, here's all your broken links. Google hates broken links. The spider falls off the web. So does your audience. How many times do you hit a 404 error and then, I want that content. You can fix that often by going through your own website, finding out what links are broken, and then creating website redirects. The Yoast tool, the premium version of it, allows you to do that. It's another reason to use Yoast plugin on your WordPress website. Thin content. If you have less than 400 words, you can be penalized as, hey, this isn't going to be a good answer to anybody's query. There's not enough content here. Same thing with duplicate content. You'll find that you get dinged if you have pages on your website that have the same content over and over and over. Google doesn't like those. They're not valuable. It's not valuable to have duplicate content. Keyword stuffing. Google spiders will be able to tell. Back in the day, the black hat SEOs, this is what we used to do. You would use like text that people couldn't see to just keyword stuff. So all the keywords you wanted to rank for, you would put them all in like a document or a box on the website that no one could really see. And you figured, oh, the spiders are crawling it. The spiders know. Well, now the spiders are smart. They're going to notice that and they're going to penalize you. And then there's that alt text. If you're missing alt text on your images, you can go through all the images on your website, put in alt text, and you will start ranking better to maybe 3 or 4 days later. It does take some time to crawl. Okay, content research strategies. This is your keywords. As you see right here, it all begins with words typed into the search box. And it does even more so now because Google has what's called Google Suggest, which starts to say, oh, we think we know what you're going to search. It's telling me what the most common search terms are as I am typing my query, as the keywords are coming up. So when you think about keyword research, one of the first easy ways to do it is just to go and start searching what you think people are going to be looking for. But here's the thing. The word, just ranking for Superyacht, that is a keyword term, but it is not necessarily telling us any intent that the searcher has in what they're looking for. So ranking for the right keywords is what you want to be doing. You don't want to go out and just rank for Superyacht or yacht crew or yacht management. You want to rank for more of a longer tail, and we'll talk about what that phrase means here in a bit, that is actually bringing the right target audience who wants to do business with you. So this is how we need to start thinking about our keyword goals. You need to consider the intent. So as you'll see here, the search phrase or query that I typed in, what's the most reputable yacht management company? By the way, Mega Yacht News, I don't know if Diane Byrne is on the call. I know she registered, but Diane's number 2 here. Fraser's done a good job of ranking well for this phrase. Now, there's probably not a ton of people out there searching that, but it's interesting to put intent behind your query so that you can start to see how Google is going to consider that question and provide the best answer. And what Diane has done with her keywords right there in the title, you see that's telling Google right away, that's a really good answer. It probably also uses what's called latent semantic indexing. That's where your Google spiders are really smart. They understand synonyms. So you'll see Fraser has their highly experienced. Well, that in their mind, Google's minds could also mean reputable. So it's coming up as the best answer. But think about it. When you are trying to decide what keywords you want to optimize your website for, you need to think about what the intent of the searchers is. You know what you're trying to accomplish, to be the yacht management company that gets selected. But from the perspective of the searcher, we need to ask ourselves, what are they looking for that makes me the best answer? So when we think about the intent, you need to consider, some people are just searching, like some kid might be writing a book report on super yachts. So he searches super yacht. Navigational intent. Somebody might type in Superyacht Association because they can't remember our website and they just want to get there. Commercial intent. Now that's somebody that's going to be doing research before a purchase. So that's where you think, oh, okay, a reputable yacht management company, that's somebody who maybe wants to find a yacht management company to hire to manage their yacht. Transactional intent. Now, this is used a lot more in e-commerce, but this is where we know that somebody's actually looking to buy something. The language that they're using is showing that they actually have transactional intent. These are all things to consider when deciding what keyword strategy you're going to use or your goals for your keyword. I always say start with your perfect customer or visitor profile. So we sometimes hear people talk about writing a customer profile or a buyer persona. But once you go in and really define who this person is, this can really help you to choose the right keyword strategy. So ask yourself, what questions do they need answered? What pain points do they have? What solutions do they need that you and your website can provide, whether that's information upfront on its way to an eventual purchase or establishing a relationship to do business with you or hire you for something. What are things that your existing customers think about before they decide to do business with you? That is going to help you think through common questions, common searches that people might be using to find you as the answer. And I always say, once you've done that, then it helps you to really get inside the head of the searcher. You want to put yourself in their shoes when thinking about keywords because it's their search query that you're trying to be the best answer for. So I've put some examples up there: best yacht itinerary in the BVIs, if you're a yacht charter company, crew training schools in Fort Lauderdale. These are when we start to use a lot more terms in this keywords in the search query, what we call the long tail searches. And long tail searches, while not yielding you a ton of traffic, they are going to yield traffic that is very specific to what you offer, because somebody is going to be very specific about what they're searching for. So they say that long tail searches make up about 70 to 80% of searches. They're easier to rank for. There's going to be very little ad competition, and they can really help boost your conversions on your website because, again, people are getting very specific. It's not just yacht management company. They're looking for a reputable yacht management company or a yacht management company located in Monaco. You know, they're adding other terms that we call the long tail, but that's making it really specific. And sometimes when you put those long tail phrases into your keyword strategy, it's going to help you to rank or to come up more, not necessarily rank. It's easier to rank for, but then you'll find that a lot more people are coming and wanting to do business with you. I like to use the example. Back in the day, I had a product called YouTube Secret Weapon. It was a DVD series and online video series that taught people how to optimize their videos for YouTube, like 2008. So we're talking a long time ago. And when we first put it out, I was calling the product, was called YouTube Secret Weapon, but I was calling it YouTube video marketing. Very few people were out there looking for YouTube video marketing. What they were looking for was how to get more views on YouTube. So think of that example, like what it is you offer versus what it is you think people are really calling it. What companies help me manage my yacht, is probably more of the natural language someone might use in their search query. So these are all things to consider when deciding what to optimize for. Here we go. So research tools, keyword research tools. Google AdWords has a free keyword planner. You do have to sign up for an AdWords account, but once in there, and I'll show you a screenshot of what it looks like here in a bit, it will allow you to run, put in one main keyword. So let's say I put in yacht management, and then it's going to yield an entire list of keywords that I might not have thought of. Like there's the obvious that you think people are using to find you. And then there's what Google's going to tell you. Oh, no, trust us. We monitor searches all day long. We can tell you what keywords you should be using. You can also enter your competitors' website domains, and it will tell you what keywords they are ranking for and often give you insight into what keywords they're trying to rank for. As I talked about there at the beginning, Google Suggest is just the concept of Google's Suggest tool. As you type, you've got right there keywords, longer tail keywords that you might want to consider optimizing for, or related searches. So when you do a search and then scroll down to the bottom of the page, and Google will actually tell you, oh, here's some other search terms that people search in a similar category. Those are phrases that you can then go and create content on your website, on your blog, or some other page to try to rank for so that you can start to come up as the best answer. Yoast, this is the plugin that I keep talking about that you can use to optimize your content on WordPress. They have a free tool called Yoast Google Suggest Expander, and that's going to do a lot of what I was just showing you on the Google Suggest image, but they've condensed it all down, and it's really cool to generate good ideas for blog posts that you could write about, or probably should write about, to try to attract traffic through the search engines. Ahrefs, I talked about them before, of using them for a technical audit. They have a free keyword generator that will generate thousands of keyword ideas for you in just a matter of seconds. Same with SEMrush or SEMrush. They have the keyword magic tool. I do believe you have to sign up for an account, but they do have a free version then that you can use. SpyFu is another great one that's really known for being able to produce a lot of good not keywords, and then also they'll give you really good information about those keywords. So if you look here down at the bottom, what it's telling me is, and this is the information that you want from a keyword research tool, you want to know volume. Are those a lot of people each month searching for that? And they distill it down. It doesn't always mean just 400 people, but it could. But they're trying to then say, okay, this is where you rank. This is how many clicks that you got. This is your keyword, KD, I believe is keyword density. I can't remember with SpyFu. Anyway, they're all different. All the tools have different features. Here's another one is Uber Suggest. This is the one that you can do the 7-day trial. And then also you could do a $29 a month account. But Uber Suggest is a great way that not only will it tell you keywords that you can rank for, but then I believe I have another example here. There you go. These will tell you the volume. Then they'll tell you the cost per click. The cost per click means that there are other competitors out there bidding on the term. And if a competitor is bidding on the term, that typically tells you that it's a good term to try to rank for organically, because they wouldn't be spending money if they're not making money on it, right? So, but then it'll also tell you the difficulty. So it is harder to rank for terms that are highly competitive. So you don't want to go after 20 terms at once. You want to pick one and then maybe think through some of the long tail versions of that one, and then make that your goal and say, okay, now my strategy for the next 3 months is to try to rank for that particular keyword. I'm going to start by making sure my technical game is in order. And then let me go back. Sorry about that. Here's the keyword tool through Google. Same thing. I entered in yacht management at the top, and you'll notice then it gave me all of these different yacht management services, yacht management companies, yacht charter management, prestige yacht management, Tampa Bay yacht management. These are terms that are being bid on, where you can see the pricing over on the right, but then it also gives you the volume and the level of competition. I kind of like the way Uber Suggest does it better, but so those are some keyword research tools that you can use. So here's your action item. Do some keyword research after your technical audit. Choose a keyword research tool. There again on the right are the different examples. Those are the logos. Generate a list of keywords relevant to your website. Evaluate them to find a set of keywords that have traffic, that look like they convert. That means they don't have a ton of, or they do have money being spent on them, usually means they convert, and are winnable. That means they have low competition. And then set up automated tracking to monitor success. With the $29 account on Uber Suggest, it's kind of fun. They'll actually email you when you move up a ranking. All right, on-site content optimization. Now this is where we're gonna actually take the keywords and put them on our well-audited, technically sound website. And here, as you can see, we've got the foundation, again, technical. The next step up is on-site SEO. That is the content and the optimization of that content on your website, making sure that it's accessible, making sure that it's shareable, discoverable, and findable. So when we're talking about your website, site design, the simpler, the better. If you've heard of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So many of these websites I see, and there's so much flash and all these different ways that you can navigate around it. Your spider, can it crawl it? Remember, there's the basics. And is it a good user experience? Are people able to find the information that they're looking for without having to dig? Simpler, the better. Stay away from heavy Flash and JavaScript. That also is not good for a optimized mobile experience, and Google's going to penalize you if it don't look good on the phone. Speed isn't everything, but it's almost the only thing. You need your website to load quickly. If it's taking 4 or 5 seconds to load, Google says, hey, no user wants that. They're going to penalize you, and that tells them, hey, next time we crawl, if this isn't getting faster, we're going to keep demoting the rank of this site in the SERPs. Blog posts are your best bet for SEO. It's quick, easy to post blog posts on your website rather than create an entire new page. So if your website doesn't have a blog attached to it, I highly recommend doing that, getting a blog dot as a, so it's like blog dot workonayacht.com as a subdomain, or workonayacht.com/blog is typically what most people are using instead. And that's the best way to do it. And then Google loves fresh content. So publish well and publish often. They love fresh content. So sometimes a quick way to boost your search rankings is go through all the content on your site and just go through and find content that's outdated and old. Go update it, add some images, optimize a little bit better with your headers and your headlines, do a quick Google search and see what Google Suggest is telling you people are searching. Make some of those phrases the actually headers of a blog post that you have already published in the past. And as I mentioned, WordPress is my go-to for building a website. Consider the customer journey vis-a-vis your keywords. So this kind of goes back when we talked about customer intent, whether it was informational, transactional, and those different navigational. But here we're talking about considering the content that you're building, making sure that you have some content that's created for that pre-awareness awareness phase. Hey, this person doesn't yet know your business or company exists. So what informational content can you put out there that is a highly searchable term that is going to educate your prospective customer to show you, hey, we know a lot about this subject. Yacht stewardess salaries, for example. If I did a whole post on yacht crew salaries, and then at the top it was yacht crew salaries, and then beneath that I did every single position on board as my subheads, then I'm telling Google, hey, I've got information related to crew salaries, and in fact I break it down into many different categories, and then use the keywords that are most searched in the header and in the description on the post, and that becomes an awareness piece. But remember, I'm selling a book. So my next step is to think about the consideration content, which is if people are thinking about buying my book, I want to tell them more about it. What else is included? So at the bottom of every post, after I give them a big bunch of juicy, great keyword packed information, I want to say, hey, but you can read chapter 1 for free. Download it now. Then I get their email. can't tell you how many people every day I get an alert. Somebody's downloaded chapter 1 of my book. Even it's been 8 years since I updated the book, and I don't know, 6 since I updated the website. But I'm telling you, I did lay a lot of good foundation, and I have a reputable domain because my website's been around since 2005. So even though if you don't have a well-established web domain, you can still do things to make your website look trustworthy and make your content that's on it relevant. So think about the topics that you're writing about. And if somebody's looking for the best yacht management company out there, it really wouldn't hurt to write an entire post about all the different yacht management companies, but put your business number one. But say, hey, we're willing to admit we're not the only one out there, and we're going to tell you why it's best to choose us. And then you don't diss all of your competitors, but maybe you just point out like, okay, if your yacht is this big, go with these guys because that's their forte, and our niche is this. And so just one way to kind of think through it. And then I also like to create content sometimes that's just for your retention, for keeping your customers, for providing information for your existing customers. So just think about the buyer's journey or the customer journey as you start to plan out topics that you're going to write about with your keywords. Something to keep in mind, blog posts are getting longer, and they need to be. Back in the day, it was all about, hey, you can do, as long as you're doing 3 to 5 posts a week, they can be 400 words, 500 words, 600 words. Well, now there's something called a pillar page or cornerstone content. We'll talk about that in a bit. But the average number of words on a blog post that does well is getting to be more. And as you'll see here, when they did a survey of a little over 1,000 different bloggers that were professional bloggers, they found that the response is 36% is the percentage of bloggers who report strong results based on making their posts 3,000 words or more, which I know sounds almost like a book, but we're going to talk about quick ways to get content created. So again, fewer shorties. Over time, they've started to see more than 2,000 words as the fewer than 500 words has gone down. What types of content are bloggers publishing? How-to articles, those are some of the best because they answer search queries. Listicles, we all know listicles, right? When you see them in the grocery store checkout line on the cover of some glamour magazine. But top 10 ways to choose a management company, top 5 things to pack when you run off to become yacht crew, top 7 reasons to join the US Superyacht Association. Lists are good ones. They're clickbait. They get people over there. But when they get there, you have to make sure you give them lots of information. Guides and ebooks, a really good tip. Write a really long 3,000 word blog post, but then break it into maybe 3 separate 1,000 word blog posts. And then at the bottom of each page, they link them all together as part 1 to part 2, part 3, but then also allow them to give their email to you in order to download the entire thing in a PDF. So you're just repurposing content to that reader. They don't necessarily know they could sit there all day just clicking and reading. But once they see that they can actually just get it all in one, here, it just gets emailed to me and now I've got it, piece, they're willing to give up their email, and getting the email is half the battle because you can continue to market to them over time through other means, namely email. Writing about news. If a big news story hits the industry and you go and write a blog post about it with an opinion, people will come flocking to it. And that's covering news and trends, that's giving an opinion about it. Interviews are another popular form of blog content. Gated content, that's what we were kind of talking about with having somebody come and download an ebook, only in this case, you let them get about 1/3 of the way through reading something and say, okay, to read more, you got to give us your email. So it's gated. Roundups, that's, taking hey, we're going to round up all of the top 5 blog posts of last year. Very popular. And then webinars, having content that recaps a webinar. So the content's already been given, you can take the video, play it back, have it transcribed, and you got all this content to work from. So it's a really great way to get content created quickly. And add visuals. Make sure you're adding images to your blog posts. Bloggers who add more visuals, according to this survey, get better results. So here we go. Some quick tips for content on your website or blog. Write for mobile readability and short attention spans. If you've ever pulled up a website that, like a lot of times, like on a desktop, a website can have a big chunky paragraph on desktop or laptop, it looks fine, but then you turn that over to a mobile device and it looks like it's a freaking novella, right? Because it just goes on and on, you're scrolling. So think about your mobile readers, lots of text breaks, make it scannable, lots of headers. If it's really long, that's fine, but if you've got headers and visuals, people will keep scrolling. Use simple sentence structure. Last night when I went spell check it, that last night when I went through and optimized this old post that I think I wrote in like 2014 originally, I noticed that the Yoast plugin kept dinging me for having too complicated of sentence structure, which I know I'm kind of known for. So I just was kind of like trying to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but I just found that like, oh, this long sentence I can break up into 3 sentences and make it more of a simple structure. I did, and sure enough, the scoring mechanism in Yoast, which I'll hopefully get to show you here in a second, my score went up just by making my sentences more simpler. Again, the spiders can read it better, and according to Google, that means more people can read it and understand it better. Make sure you have those cross links. So every page should link to some other page on your website, no orphan content. Use your target keyword that you're going after in the title, in the description, in your headers, and then also in your URL if you can. And the URL, the slug. So let's say workonayacht.com/get work on, I don't even a good one. The URL, yacht stewardess training. You want to use the keywords that you're going after, and you want to make sure that they show up in that URL if possible. And there's that Yoast plugin. I know what you're talking about, but it's the greatest thing ever. And I highly recommend getting the premium version. It's $99, one-time fee. You own it for the year. And they've got lots of great training that you get alongside that. And the Yoast talks about what I refer to as a pillar page, but cornerstone content is what they refer to it over at Yoast. And it's just the idea, a pillar page is designed to be like the go-to source for your site's main topics. They need to be very lengthy, cover your subject in depth, link to related pieces covering the same topic. So they kind of refer to those as topic clusters. But if you do a Google search for pillar pages or cornerstone content, you'll start to learn more about them. But from a ranking perspective, pillar pages are gold. The company that I was at prior to this, 3.5 years I was there, I was senior vice president of marketing, and our digital team killed it in search. We came up #1 for all of our target keywords. It took us about 2 years to get there. But one of the ways we did it, even though our competitors had been around for 15 years, was we really honed in on writing extremely informational, in-depth content that was mega long, but broken down into very useful topic clusters. And then we'll get to the second part that we did to optimize them, which is to get the backlinks to them. But that's coming up here in just a second. But as soon as each one of these pages got launched and we got some backlinks coming into it, we would just see it skyrocket through the search engines. And within a few months, we would usually overtake #1 for our target keywords. So pillar pages, Google it, look them up. They are the way to rank really well. They need to be lengthy, well-written, well-optimized, and be very prominent in your website's infrastructure, like easy to find. And also make sure that you keep them up to date once they're there, but they are the key. Pay attention to the structure. So one of the things, and I'll show you an example in a minute of a pillar page, they like to include like an index at the top that actually lets people click down into the article, so that the search spiders love that, because they come to the article and they say, oh, here's the main topic, and then here's all the subheads. And it's almost like a table of contents at the top of the page that then you click and it just takes you down. If you want help in trying to get the content written, and I'm sure that many of the writers on Writers Access, which is one of my go-to sites for hiring outsourced freelance writers, many of them are trained in SEO, and it will say so on their, it's like a marketplace for writers. Essentially, you develop like a little persona description, tell them like, hey, I want to write this for my prospect persona, and you give them the buyer persona in the consideration phase of the buyer's journey with these following keywords. And I'd like you to maybe make it into pillar content eventually. And you send that over to one of these writers. And sometimes you pay as much as 45 or less, as little as $45. I would say we've paid up to $70 for posts that are about 800 words, if that gives you any idea. But you'd have to check, but outsource it or get on the phone, use one of those apps that records your phone conversations and just talk to somebody, everything you know about the subject that your business is involved in, or get your CEO to do this, or the owner of the company, and somebody that's just very knowledgeable on the topic you want to write about. Have them talk for a half an hour, interview them, if you will, and then take that transcript and send it over on Fiverr. You can go and pay people really cheap to transcribe a phone call, have that transcribed, and then you've got the basis of a blog post. And as I mentioned before, update old content, but don't change the URLs. If you change the URLs of your content, then Google has to find them again. And you've also just created a 404 with the old URL. So if you do it, you just create a redirect to the new content. So you can change the URL, but only if you add a redirect. And as I've said before, use images. Don't forget the alt text in your images. And Canva, if you haven't used it, is a really good and cheap tool to create images, and you can use templates that help create really strong visuals for your content. Okay, I'm going to try to get through this here real quick because I want to leave time for questions. So we've talked about the technical foundation. We just went over on-site SEO optimization tips. Now we're going to talk about the off-site linking. And this is the concept or idea of your website is the hub with the spokes around it, hub and spokes principle. Think of an airport. So what Google wants to see are lots of links coming into you. So those are backlinks, and we want quality backlinks. And let's find out first some ways that some of those bloggers that were interviewed are getting their traffic. How are they driving traffic to their content? And when we talk about SEO, it's not even driving traffic, it's attracting traffic. So this is where, when you hear people talk about inbound marketing, it's any time that you're not having to beg or pay people to come to your website. So it's really not a driving term, but it's more, you want to be like a magnet that attracts them and pulls them in organically. Anyway, as you can see, paid services has declined as something a lot of people have been opting for. Man, I find this an interesting, like social media is as high as ever. Influencer marketing looks to be down, but then you'll see here when I show you which sources are important, and this is the same group that they interviewed, you're seeing where search engines, the most important, social media next, email marketing then, and then direct, which word of mouth is direct. It just means people know to type in workonayacht.com. They don't have to go and search me. Referral traffic is going to be those influencers or other bloggers or businesses linking to you. And then you've got paid. So I find that interesting because, well, you'll see here in a second that, okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Sorry, cross-platform promotion and socialization. You can tell my eyes are getting tired in my brain. Be prepared to travel wide and far. So the first thing you need to do with off-site linking is take your content and post it everywhere on social. It's free, do it. Tweets, LinkedIn updates, Facebook updates. You can create a quick video and put it up on YouTube and then have a link to the blog post that you're talking about and put it in the description. It's a link. Google will find it. It will follow it. A lot of people say, oh, but social signals don't really matter to the search algorithms. People that think they know what's in the search algorithms, telling you it's a best kept secret. But what we do know is while they may not be one of the biggest ranking factors, Google follows links no matter what. So even when they say, oh, it's a no follow link, if it comes from a social media profile, it's still a track in, it's still a web that's coming into the website. And because of that, Google will take note. If suddenly it sees this huge influx of traffic coming from Twitter, it's going to notice. And same thing with any one of the social websites. Putting out a press release is a great way to get some inbound links coming in, backlinks coming to you. Instagram has never been a good SEO source because there's no links in the images unless you are spending money. And then when you're running an ad, so if you boost content through Instagram, you can make the image clickable. So it's why it is a useful thing to use ads to boost your content both on Facebook and Instagram, because they're clickable. It's still not going to yield a ton of traffic. People on Instagram just aren't into clicking, but you can also put your profile, your link in your Instagram profile and make that something that gets clicked. But you use those images more to draw attention. And then guest posts, which is what we're going to talk about here with trying to get quality backlinks from other bloggers. So here's what I kept thinking of was coming up next as I was talking. Influencer outreach. Some promotion channels are more effective than others. So even though those numbers earlier were showing that a lot of people weren't doing it or doing it as much in 2021, influencer outreach and paid sources are two of the highest effective forms of getting backlinks to your content. You get it out on social media, but by boosting it or doing guest blog posts on other people's properties, other people's websites, you're able to get the quality backlinks that are going to really give you a lot more value in the eyes of search engine bots and spiders. So collaborating with other influencers gets better results. Yes. What do you want to do for this? You need to go out and find other business owners, website owners who have content that supports and is similar to yours, but it maybe doesn't compete. Getting quality backlinks starts with choosing the best keywords that relate to your business and then phoning a friend and saying, hey, will you link to me using this search term as the anchor text in the post? Either that, or I will write the post and submit it to you, and then you would put my website in the author bio. So that's what they would always refer to as guest posts. We did this at Boardable, my last company, and the SEO company that we used actually had a network of, they were all businesses and software companies that served nonprofits. And they were kind of referred to them as mission-driven businesses. So whether you had software for nonprofit fundraising, for nonprofit board management, how to do nonprofit events, they were part of a network where we all traded links to one another's content. So think about it right here on this call right now, everybody has some sort of an interest in the yachting industry. You should probably look down the list of names of who's here and say, okay, that person just got this same advice. Let's swap information. And I can say, hey, you're a yacht charter company, you're a yacht training company or yacht crew training company. We don't compete. Let me write a story about you that is going to be relevant to my audience where I can use your search term, even if it's just a paragraph at some point where I just say, yacht crew training or yacht charter in the Caribbean or something using the anchor text. It's a great way to do it. It does take knocking on people's doors, but hey, come on, pandemic's ending. We're all getting back together, right? And we don't, being online, we don't even have to breathe on each other. Just send somebody an email and say, hey, notice you were on the webinar, or hey, you're a business that I've always admired. What would you think about the fact that we have a similar target audience and we both have reputable businesses and we know we're not going to look like spam? But whether you are requesting those links from those other sites or whether you're just submitting it to a directory site, there's a lot of those out there where you can knock on the door and say, hey, I noticed you have a list of yacht management companies. Might you add us? A lot of times now they'll go, yeah, if you pay us, which sucks that people do that, but they do. You just need to make sure that you've coached them on the right anchor text to use. And then the final bit of information, and we will have time for those 10, 11 minutes of Q&A, probably 8 by the time I'm done saying this. With those social links and putting your content out, whether in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, put some money behind it. And by that, I mean boost the content or amplify it to get it above the noise so that it is findable and discoverable by your average searcher. So somebody's just sitting there scrolling through Facebook. If you are only posting organic social, organically even on your website and then put it out organically on social, you're not going to have a very far reach unless the content's so amazing and it gets into the hands of the right people and then takes off on its own, where people are actually texting it to each other and messaging each other and think, oh my gosh, you got to read this blog post. I can't believe it. It's so great. But even that good of content, it has to be found first, right? It's like the tree falling in the woods. If no one's around to hear it, did it make a sound? Well, if a blog post is absolutely incredibly amazing, but nobody ever comes across it, did it ever get written, right? So you need to get it a little paid push in the social channels so that it rises above the noise, gets seen by your target audience. The beauty of paid social media, right? You get to choose the audience who you think it will make sense for. And then for whom you think it will make sense. And then also get it out to your email list. Do the referral traffic that's reaching out to your fellow businesses. Get it out there, get it out there, get it out there, even sometimes if you have to pay. Something right now I just want to make note of with the US Superyacht Association for our members. We've got a directory. Our directory links to our members' websites, which is very valuable because the USSuperyachtAssociation.com has been around for a long time. Something else to keep in mind if you're a member is we're begging for member news all the time. Our marketing efforts want your news. So submit your press releases to us so that we can put them on our website and then create a link to you. And trust me, the page rank, which is the official term for the quality of SEO juice that USSuperyachtAssociation.com is able to pass along, is really high. So send us your news. Let us write about you. Let us link to you. Just tell us what anchor text to use. And then as far as giving it a boost in social media, it really doesn't take that much money. You can boost a post for $10 on Facebook and reach thousands of people. And again, that's really just getting it above that noise to have people see it, to start the trend of it going viral, we'll say, in just a way of like, those interested may pass it to another person who's interested. Facebook is the best option because it's cheapest with a good size audience. Twitter is actually the cheapest, but a lot of times Twitter, you're not getting people that are in a mindset to sit and stay for a long time. And they will be on mobile, I can tell you right now, but try it. LinkedIn is another place. Ads are a lot more expensive. At least get it out there organically. If you can put $50 behind it for 2 days, even better. But that's very, very B2B focused content. Instagram, if it's paid, will result in a link. You can also sponsor posts on Pinterest. If you're a very visual brand, with these super yachts, I mean, come on, right? So if you're a broker of some sort or a shipyard and you want to show your refit outcomes, Pinterest is a great place to do that. And you can boost some content pretty cheaply and get those backlinks. And that's, remember, the reason you're doing it. It's not like you think someone's going to buy a super yacht off of Pinterest. Google AdWords is a way that you can use, get search ads showing up that actually lead to blog content just to get something going. But unless your blog post or long article is really optimized to convert, it's probably not the best. You're probably wasting some money. But you know, there it is with Google AdWords. Reddit and StumbleUpon are two other options. Use images in those social posts so that even if not paid, even if they're just social, it's the eye-catching visual that probably has the title showing in some way or the topic showing in some way to get people's attention. So, and then keep that quality content coming. I'm opening it up for Q&A now. Wow, I can't believe I did that. Breathe. And I hope I kept everyone here. It was a lot.
Yes, actually, Julie, you kept everybody here. I think we lost only one person. And there's yeah, you can send your press releases to info@ussuperyacht.com. And you can find anything you want pretty much on our ussuperyacht.com website. I put the link on there. And there's lots more coming. We have a whole educational and training program happening throughout the year. We've got lots of activities and events happening, but who has anything very specifically questioning for with regards to today's content? I know she covered quite a bit. So anybody have any specific questions? I know you were like so on it, Julie. You got it all going, man. Well, I'm putting in also to the chat box a list of our upcoming events that are happening with links to register. What's that? And so that they're all here in the chat box, but you could go to ussuperyacht.com and they're right here on our events page. There's a new event that's not on there yet that I know you're all going to want to hear about. It's the Inspire Initiative. That's going to be on Friday of the Palm Beach International Boat Show. So that'll be on the 25th. I think that's what that is. So you're not going to want to miss that. It's not up yet, but it's going to be fantastic. With that, I mean, we're right down to the end here. Julie is a tremendous resource and a wonderful member of our board of directors. I know I saw our chair on here earlier today.
Yeah, we got some questions.
Are our questions? Julie, talk a little about the image size when uploading, not just pixel length and width, but megabytes and kilobytes too.
I would just say, make sure all of your PNGs are saved as JPEGs because that right away is going to cut your image size like in half. And it makes all the difference. And PNG files are just too big a bulk of size. So in megabytes, it's all about the megabytes of will convert into, with a PNG, a much larger file, and it just drains your website's ability to load quickly.
One of the other questions from Sharon Abramson, she's like, great info, but how many times do you recommend repeating keywords in your blog without sounding like you're just repeating keywords in your blog and sounding like a big dope? She didn't say that. I said that. Sorry, Sharon. I'm transcribing your thing because I know I run into that same challenge without saying, you know, super yacht, super yacht, super yacht,
yeah.
super yacht. You know, it gets a little redundant. So
it can be looked at as keyword stuffing if you use it way too many times. Here's, by the way, I was talking about it. Are you able to see my screen?
If you could make it a wee bit bigger for us more advanced eyes.
Well, here I am in the back of WordPress. Sharon, that is a great question because they do say, you know, use it a lot, try to get it in there. I would say at least twice, but that is as the exact term. So if my term is super yacht crew jobs, twice, but think of all the variations of ways that you can talk about jobs for super yacht. Crew jobs on super yachts, jobs for crew on super yachts. And Google likes to see that mix up, right? Again, they do what's called latent semantic indexing, where they can read content and know what it's supposed to mean and know the synonyms of it. So they even say sometimes you mix up your anchor text so that it's not every single time you're asking people, use super yacht crew jobs to link to me. Well, jobs in the super yacht industry might be another great way to phrase it.
But does it have to be in the same exact format every single time to have the same effect?
Exactly. Thank you for helping me state that better. Here, down here, you'll see is the Yoast plugin, where I can put in a keyword phrase. This is why I say it's very useful. If you have WordPress and you're able to use this plugin, I can say, here's what I want to optimize for, which, by the way, I don't think is really a great phrase to optimize for, but it's what I chose. Super Yacht Crew Jobs is in the slug. That's the URL. It's here in the meta description. And I used it as headers up in the content. Sharon, I would probably say, depending on the length of the content, I should try to aim for at least 2 times in its exact form. But then if I can get it maybe 2 other or 3 other ways, but to keep mixing it up and make it sound like natural language. Google has gotten very smart. Those spiders have been to school. They know what they're doing. But you could also see here that you will get graded by Yoast based on your paragraph lengths, consecutive sentences, whether you're using passive or active voice, sentence length. So that's why this is such a useful tool. And it even tells you when one area has too many words used altogether. If you have the premium version, you can also then come over here and classify how you want your search or your images and your title and description to show up when you post on Facebook or Twitter. So again, get the Yoast plugin, it's outstanding. And Diane, back over here when we were talking about images, So this right here, see the dimensions, 4,200 by 2,800, way too big. It's 4 megabytes. It needs to be well under a megabyte, right? So I need to go back and that's a JPEG. It's just Suki took this picture in like 2012, sent it to me and sent it straight from her digital phone. And I never went to shrink it. So I see what you're saying. Not just JPEGs, because that's obviously a JPEG that didn't work. You don't want it to be 4 megabytes. All right.
So Abby, did that answer your question as well? I hope, because we had someone that had a very similar, Abby Olson, using most impactful way of using keywords
without sounding redundant. Yeah, Abby, those tools that I mentioned during the presentation, they will give you synonyms. They will give you other possible terms to use instead of the one that you put in. So go try using one of those free tools, like the one with the Yoast Suggest. You'll even see it here if I do the Yoast Suggest expander, and I come over here. So if I did like yacht charter, and then it's gonna, gotcha, well, it's not really doing a very good job with yacht charter, is it? Okay, so this is just giving me long tail based on that. Okay, so for getting results that are more like synonyms, I would probably go use the Ahrefs. They do a good job with their keyword. There we go, Keyword Explorer. I bet they would do a good job of giving you they give thousands and thousands of keyword suggestions, or the Keyword Research Planner from Google. It's another great one.
And I'd also ask everybody here that if you're not currently following or liking or joining us, link back to us on all of our social media sites. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and vaguely on Instagram, but definitely heavily on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. So we encourage you to list us, like us, participate, and send us your information. We'll be happy to share it.
Yeah, and here I just want to pull up a quick example of I guess it may have even just been a press release that originally went out, but Experience Yacht Services is a company, they're new members, and they took our advice. We said, great. And
they were on the call today.
Oh, they were?
Yes.
Hopefully they're still here. Anyway, this was a great thing for them to do. And I would say that this article is perfect. One thing that we, of course, didn't think about, Julie, I'm sorry, I didn't mention the Julie Sack on the call. I didn't mention this to you, but we should probably go in and ask them what they want to rank for, or give us a keyword and let us, we could do the super yacht experts of Latin America and then link to them. So there's your anchor text, everyone. And that is the telling Google what your, site A linking to site B, telling it what it's about. If you're submitting news to the USSA, make sure to tell us how to refer to you.
Awesome.
So.
Well, very good. Thank you so very much. Yeah, we look forward to having more of these types of presentations as we go forward. And if you have any suggestions or thoughts of things that are important to you or your company, please do share that, because we do take that very seriously. And we want to provide you with the information and the details that make it easier for you to do your business. All right. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.